So it happens I was browsing the flea markets and thrift stores recently here, and I came across 3 items that I decided to purchase. Felt like they were worth spending a few dollars on. This Sony TC-R37 was one I found at the thrift store for $6. I also found an old Technics CD player from 1985 that I'll do a video about, as well as a DAC 6-disc CD changer at the same thrift store as this one was purchased. I'm assuming this was built probably about late 80s, early 90s, sometime around in there. It's a full logic cassette deck. You got these soft buttons right here, soft control buttons I'd call them, that control the microcontroller in this unit. This does not have the AMS function that some of the more higher end Sony cassette decks did at the time period. But this does feature the Dolby C noise reduction. Also has the buttons here for normal, chrome, and metal tapes right here. And it is auto reversing. I thought it was a fairly nice looking deck, so I figured it was worth the $6 to pick it up. I was a little bit on the fence until I noticed the Dolby C noise reduction, and that's really kind of why I decided to go ahead and get it and give it a try. I've already taken it apart to kind of figure out what's going on with it. This cassette deck plays just fine. The counter doesn't work, and right now it's in the auto reverse mode here, so basically it's not detecting that the tape is actually turning. It's not detecting that the tape reels are spinning and doing what they should, so it assumes that the tape has reached its end and shuts down and goes into auto reverse and starts playing in the other direction, and then it decides to stop and switch gears again. On occasion, the tape counter does kind of start to move a little bit, and when it does, obviously the tape deck continues to play. So I had to look inside of this thing to see what was going on with it, and first glance there's definitely a lot going on in this. There was a Sony cassette deck that UXW Bill had talked about that had absolutely nothing going on in this thing whatsoever. It had just a transformer, and you had your board right there for your inputs and outputs, and everything else was up here in the faceplate. This one's built quite a bit better than that one, probably because it's a little bit older, and you can see the Sony microcontroller hidden back there. This deck actually has 2 motors on it, one that turns the take-up reels for fast forward and rewind, and the other motor that turns the cap stand during play operation there. You can see some of the circuit boards down there, and I think all these are just a circuit board to connect everything together down there. There's no microcontrollers or anything like that on there. And you can see the power switch there and things like that. This little belt right here is the one that's the problem belt, and you can see that little photo light sensor right here. And this shaft actually goes down to the counter itself, and these are just a couple pulleys riding on these little shafts right here. So this whole thing turns, and of course, as those spots on the disc there cover up that light sensor, it tells the microcontroller that of course the tape is spinning and turning and doing what it should be. At first glance the belt is a little bit stretched. You can see how easily I can just barely touch it and it just flexes like a son of a bitch, but I don't think that's entirely the problem here, because if I turn this and kind of help it out a little bit, it does start to kind of try to turn, and it will start to turn, not obviously at the correct speed, but it will turn enough to keep the microcontroller happy and keep the tape playing in the correct direction. So what I found out was that this roller right here, and this one too, but this one's the worst of them, felt awfully gummed up to me. So I'm going to go ahead and hit both of these with a little bit of oil and work it in there really good. And we'll see if that fixes the problem, because I really don't feel like taking this tape transport out of here just to replace this belt. I could, and I probably will in the future anyway, but even if it doesn't run the counter at the correct speed, I really don't give one iota about the counter. I don't really find the counters to be practically useful anyway. So as long as this sensor, this wheel right here is spinning and keeps the microcontroller happy, that's all I really care about. So let's just give this a little gentle lubrication here. Let's see if we can get that worked in there. Now let's see what happens here. Yep, that's all it was. It's just those pulleys a little gummed up there. So before I subject the test tape to this mechanism here, I'm going to go ahead and clean the capstan rollers and the head and demagnetize it. It's not too terribly filthy in here, but you can see the micro dust bunnies that have built up in the different places right there. So I'm going to go ahead and clean those here, and then we'll do a test tape on this. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. I do a little bit of a different method than some other people do. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and blow out this dust, at least as much of it as I can get. Let's see how it looks here. Yeah, looks a lot better than it did before, that's for sure. So the next step I'm going to do is clean the heads and the rollers and all that stuff, and I'm going to use contact cleaner to do it. This stuff I found to be absolutely fantastic for cleaning the heads, to get that nice squeaky clean feeling out of them. So I went ahead and sprayed some into this glass right here. I'm just going to go ahead and remove this cover right here to get better access to the heads. We're going to go ahead and clean those with a cotton swab here. Now, what I like to use on the cotton swabs is these cheapest ones that you can possibly find, Dollar Tree. They're usually very tightly wound. You don't want to use the fluffy ones, because the fluffy ones have a tendency of getting caught up in things here that they shouldn't be. So I like to use the tightly wound ones. You can use the more professional long ones, and I do have a bunch of those, but frankly they cost a lot of money. And for $1, 350 of these for $1, you can't beat it. So let's go ahead and dip the Q-tip in there, get it nice and soaked, and go ahead and clean this head. And this stuff I really like because it cleans the head very, very, very well, and it also dries extremely fast. And I have found, I've used rubbing alcohol, and many people do that, and that works fine, but I have found, because there is alcohol in electrical contact cleaner, at least the non-residue stuff, which is what you want to use on this, and it just really does a very thorough job of cleaning that head to a nice shine there. See a little bit of gunk right there that came off of that. See how nice and shiny that head is now. So I'm going to go ahead and re-dip the Q-tip in here, because this stuff does dry fast. I'm going to go ahead and clean the cap stands here. Just kind of a quick cleaning for right now, and then I'm going to engage the play mode and do a little bit better cleaning of it here. Get all that tape gunk residue off of there. It's as best as I can. It's a little bit discolored. So now I'm going to go ahead and clean the cap stand rollers here. I'm just going to dip my Q-tip in the solution again, and I'm going to have to finger it, the sensor, to get it to play. And we'll just go in here, clean that up real good. Okay, you can see that gunk there that came off of there. And we'll do this side here. Of course, because it's auto reversing, it thinks that it's not spinning, of course. Makes it equally fun on this side of it, but that's okay. Tell you what, that auto reversing mechanism sure has a healthy click to it. Okay, so now I'm going to hit it with the demagnetizer here. And I got to plug it in. And before I do, of course, I want to get any tapes out of the way that I have. Okay, so we've got the demagnetizer on here. And we're just going to go in here and we're going to dock with the space shuttle here. And when you're doing this, at least with this particular demagnetizer, you can feel it vibrate as the tip is on the head right there. And we'll just slowly pull it away out into nowhere. And we'll come back and just kind of touch everything up in here. We'll go over the head one more time, just kind of go around here. This really isn't necessary most of the time, but you know, when you pick up a cassette deck that you don't know what kind of life it's had, it's not a bad idea to just go ahead and hit it with a demagnetizer anyway. So I'm far away from the unit while I unplug it, and there we go. Now we have a healthy, freshly cleaned cassette deck, except the faceplate, obviously. That's been touched with so many dirty fingers over the years that it's going to need a serious scrubbing. So I'm going to go ahead and get this faceplate put back on, and we'll give it a good old test here. Okay, so let's go ahead and demo this a little bit here. Dolby's off and everything like that. So let's go ahead and play a little music on this. Tell you what, it sounds quite good too. Go ahead and fast forward a little bit here, and let's turn Dolby on. Oh, actually, I'll do a test of Dolby on and off with B and C. So here's Dolby B on. And here's C. Now it's off. Definitely responds quite fast. The mechanism sounds extremely healthy. Let's go the other way. Switches direction pretty fast. You can see how fast the mechanism responds there. Well, I think this is another successful repair. Still got to clean the faceplate. It is quite grimy and nasty. Can see some of that nice grime and smudges and fingerprints right there on it, but it's going to make a really nice deck, that's for sure. Take care, everyone. Peace out.